Rahul, we can start.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning to all. In the first place, I apologize for the little technical hitch we had, so we are starting a little late. But I think that will be compensated by the event what we have today. So it's with great honor that I welcome you all, visitors and members, to 10, the Entrepreneurs Network. I trust you all are comfortable to begin in today's meeting. I'm Rahul Amrute, Chairman, shouldering the responsibility of the current tenure. In my task, I'm ably supported by Manoj Tehliani, the Secretary, Mangesh Patole, the Relationship Manager, Jagdish Bhai Punjabi, who holds the dual role of organizing events and treasurer, and social media managed by Ram Kumar. 10, the Entrepreneurs Network, is a not-for-profit organization. The single-minded focus of 10 is to help entrepreneurs from different business fields to come together and succeed. So to know more about 10, I would kindly request Mangesh to play a small AV and then we can get started. Yes, Mangesh.
Yeah, Rahul.
ले तो अंदर जो वाईफाई तो रखे थे यार
ना बाहर जो Manoj, please mute yourself, Manoj.
Sound. One.
Mangesh, no audio.
To explore, to connect.
Yes, got it.
Thane, Maharashtra's
Rahul, is it
major
okay now?
industrial town,
Yes, perfect.
fastest growing and slated to be the most happening commercial hub. Over the last decade, Thane has grown from a small suburban town to a large, self-sustaining metropolis. Proximity to the financial capital of the country has extended ample opportunities to Thane for becoming the richest district in Maharashtra, with potent factors like well-planned infrastructure and low cost of operation. With growing opportunities and upcoming business ventures comes the growing need for business networking to learn, to explore, to connect, and to share avenues for mutual growth. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network, popularly known as 10. Established in 2010 with the intent of providing a platform for entrepreneurs to share their experience, to learn, and to educate fellow entrepreneurs, along with generating business opportunities for mutual growth. Our motto: connect, breakthrough, and prosper.
In 2009, basically, I was totally confined to the four walls of my own retail outlet, feeling the need to get out of that those binded four walls. So there was a business networking group. I joined that, and after 1.5 years, basically, there was some disconnect with that particular group. So we wanted to start something that was more Indianized. We wanted to do something to build a community of entrepreneurs. And in 2010, we started this 10 Entrepreneurs Network.
10 is a close-knit community of different business verticals across industries.
10 ने मुझे अभी जो फ़ायदा मिला है, काफ़ी फ़ायदा मिला है. बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ भी मुझे काफ़ी मिली है 2009 से. ग्रोथ काफ़ी हुआ है.
I love 10 as a network because it is very different from the other business networks what you see. And it has helped me a lot in my overall development for my business, for my relations.
And what I found, people around us are all wanted to grow in their business and help the society around. And I'm so happy to join the 10.
After coming here, I found a different friendship, a different support system.
10 members contribute connections, ideas, and time to help 10 grow. Members are rewarded with training workshops, insights, network, and camaraderie offered by other like-minded entrepreneurs. They meet alternate Wednesdays from 7:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m.
What I liked about 10 is more of a kind of a learning platform. So I learned a lot from 10, through different sessions, different workshops.
what I like about 10 is core functionality, which is continuous learning for entrepreneurs. That is, we can say it is a core function of 10 on which it operates.
10 has been extremely beneficial to me in enhancing my personality and making me equipped to face the challenges as an entrepreneur.
Connecting, breakthrough, and prosper, which is the mantra of 10, is something which I was seeking for in my business career.
10 conducts activities such as 10 Connect session, open minds, outdoor meetings, and annual conclave. 10 Connect session provides a robust platform to its members for learning and sharing experiences, one-on-one interaction, apart from addresses by internal and esteemed guest speakers. 10 Engagement also extends to events such as Open Minds, where established entrepreneurs and business owners are invited to share their life lessons and growth stories while interacting with live audience. It's an event that Thaneites eagerly wait for. Outdoor meetings are fun coupled with learning. It aims at increasing member bonding and interactions beyond regular meetings. It includes site visits, visiting fellow members' workplace, and short outings which are extremely high on fun quotient.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, they are exactly following that. That really brings me to here.
Since inception, 10 members have transacted more than 275 crores of business with its members and connects beyond 10 as we move ahead in this path of connecting for mutual growth. We look forward to more heads, more hands, and more hearts to come together. We welcome you to attend the 10 Connect session, to experience entrepreneurial energy, creativity, and motivation.
Let's give our classic 10 clap to 10, which goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 twice.
10. The Entrepreneurs Network.
Thank you, Mangesh. I'm audible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would kindly request now our Secretary, Mr. Tahliani, to introduce our speaker for the day, Mrs. Mansi Lal Sawan, so she can take it over.
Good morning,
Yes,
Rahul. Good morning. Thank you, Rahul. Good morning, friends. Welcome to our today's webinar session on Zoom. The topic for today's session is trust building through effective virtual communication. Today, market leaders and challengers are at the same starting point. Market leaders are struggling with the same challenges that we smaller entrepreneurs are facing. The only way of communication across the globe is virtual communication. In such times, effective virtual communication builds trust. Today, we have with us someone who has coached more than 45 CXOs and middle management professionals. She has conducted more than 300 corporate and open workshops, trained more than 7,500 entrepreneurs and corporate professionals. She has developed a proprietary solution that empowers professionals to achieve their goals and objectives while showing their best side. So friends, let's welcome our speaker for today's session, Mansi Lal Sawan, who will share her insights on building trust via virtual communication. Thank you, Mansi. Please welcome.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Thank you so much for those lovely words. Could I go on the screen share mode now?
Yeah.
So give me a minute, please, while I get on the screen share mode. And please confirm if you can see the slide.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, awesome. So today we are going to be talking on trust building through effective virtual communication. Now, I'm sure a lot of us are meeting for the first time, and a lot of you haven't met me or even seen me for that matter. I'm sure a lot of you don't know where I exist and what I do. So let me start with introducing my family to you. So these are my parents. My dad has been an HR professional all his life and he's retired now. That's my mom. My mom has been a homemaker all through. So you'll be surprised to know that my mom had a 70th birthday last month. And she started singing at the age of 65. Now, when I say started singing, I mean that she started taking singing classes at the age of 65. And today she sings. So those are my parents. These are my sisters. I have two younger sisters. I'm the eldest in the family. So the one immediately after me, she and her husband, both of them hold CXO level positions in sales and marketing in Singapore. My younger sister is an urban designer, and she is a director with one of the multinational companies here in Mumbai. I have two children and one husband. So my daughter is in the 10th, my son is in the 5th, and my husband is an architect by his profession. So that is my family. Let's move on to one of the most amazing times in the history of mankind, which we don't want to remember. And they're amazing, not because they are not to be remembered, but because they taught us something that we never thought we could learn. And I am talking of the depression. So I'm sure that, all of us have heard of the Great Depression of the 1929. And of course, none of us were present at that point in time, but I'm sure we know that how bad it was financially for a lot of people. I'm also sure that we've heard stories, we've read as to how life came to a virtual standstill, how money was short, how life was difficult. And we've heard a lot of these stories about the 1929 depression. So those are one stories that we've heard. But on the other side, the depression was also a blessing in disguise. Now, I'm sure you've heard of Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill says, and I'm going to quote him, it says, "The Great Depression brought the world at the same starting line." What does that mean for all of us? So, if you look at the current situation, the current economic situation, the world is kind of at a standstill. Things are moving, but they're slow, and they're not moving as they would move or as we would like them to move. Some of us are doing very well, but the percentage of those doing well is very, very small. And some of us are just wishing we could have done better. And some of us are really in the red. And that means things are just not moving for us and for our industry. So in the economic scenario, our life is kind of at a standstill. There is not much of movement happening. Now let's go back to the pre-pandemic or the pre-lockdown times. Now, if you remember the pre-pandemic and the pre-lockdown times, we were definitely carrying on businesses. We definitely had our jobs. We had all of those kind of things. But before that, we also had a competitor, or rather along with that, we also had a competitor. And a good number of times, there were more than one competitors, and there was something very specific about these competitors. What was specific was that these competitors were bigger and larger than us. They had a bigger sales force than us. They were more aggressive as compared to us. They could pick up the customers right, left, and center when we couldn't even reach the customer. And every time we went to a customer, the customer said, "Hey, you know what? I want to go with that kind of a person who's doing that because they're bigger and better." Like they would say, "Bada hai to behtar hai." Do you remember those days? So there were those days that were happening at that point in time. And I think we've all felt the heat of that kind of competition that we've had. There have been times when this competition has kind of put us low. There have been times when we wish that we had those bigger pockets to spend. There were times when we wished that we had deeper money to spend. So we've all been through those kind of processes. Now, these people, these very people who had those big names, the big manpower, the deeper pockets, all of them who had these kind of things, today are kind of facing an issue. Whereas we who have been very lean are actually not facing any issues. Why are they facing issues? Why are we not facing issues? They are facing issues because they have this huge manpower. They have these huge marketing budgets. They have the huge advertising budgets. They have huge social media budgets. Everything with them is huge. Whereas for us, everything is small and lean. So what happens is when you have everything that is big, you start cutting down things. You realize it's the pandemic and things are not moving as they were moving. And we realize that customers are not taking orders the way they were taking orders previously. And we see a lot of movement and shift in customer purchases. So they start cutting down their budgets. So while it is true that these big competitors of ours cut down marketing budgets, cut down social media budgets, cut down their sales costs, they do everything. But along with that, they do one more thing. And that one more thing, which is very important, is they start laying off people. Now, the moment they start laying off people, or rather their people, their employees, they tend to get in a panic mode. The employees don't know if their jobs would remain. There is no guarantee, there's no certainty for jobs. So the employees are kind of unsure everything. There's a kind of a fear that the employees are in. But look at the situation at us. We are lean. We don't have a lot of people to lay off. Our marketing budgets are small. Our social media budgets are already small. Everything with us is already so small, right? So don't we have the advantage? We definitely have the advantage. So today, your big competitor and you and me included, we are all on the same starting line. It's a race that we are running to get our customers, and we are on the same starting line, if you think about it, right? So if we are on the same starting line, the one who's able to reach the customer first, the one who's able to manage the customer first, the one who understands that, hey, you know what? I can get to my customer first. The one who's more agile to the customer wins the customer. And it's as simple as that. Now, our bigger giants, our bigger competitors can't really do that. And why can't they do that? They can't do that because there's too much of baggage. There are too many things that they are carrying. Plus, they're operating from an emotion of fear. And we, instead of operating from an emotion of fear, we now start operating through our agility and we reach our customers. Now, let me share some stats with you which prove a lot of things that we haven't even thought about. So 85% of the sales professionals would have lost their jobs because they haven't been able to sell on virtual meetings. 90% of the people lack spontaneity to answer questions on video conference. Now, this is extremely important, the spontaneity on video conferences. 95% of the people fail to have an eye contact, and I'm going to be talking on this very specifically in the coming slides. Eye contact when we are conducting a virtual communication. 90% of the people, which is the employees, don't get their deserved promotion because they can't connect empathetically with their offsite manager. And 90% people cannot convert the sales because they fail to create an engaging PPT. I will be talking about an engaging PPT in the slides to come. Before that, if you could give me a minute, please. There are too many messages and I just want to go through all of them.
Mansi, these are general messages. If anything specific is there, I'll let you know.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move. One second, you will have to bear up with me. My slides tend to have frozen. Okay, so today we are in the world of virtual communication, and virtual communication is a nice to have communication. No, it's a must to have communication today. And most importantly, virtual communication is no longer communication. It is the communication. So we have now transitioned from saying virtual communication to communication. That is where we are moving. So these days when people say, hey, you know what, let's have a meeting, it's presumed that you're meeting online. Hey, you know what, let's have a discussion to strategize something, it's presumed that you're meeting online. So these days our communication is purely virtual. So there's nothing like a virtual communication now. All that we have is communication. Well, moving ahead, I want to tell you a small story. Now, this is the story of a burger truck. So this is a story from America, and there was this gentleman who owned this burger truck. Now, every evening, this gentleman would take his burger truck to one of the crossroads. And as he would take it to one of the crossroads, he would reach there, he would park the truck, then he would open his entire truck. It's a food truck, so he would kind of open his entire truck. Then he would lay down the food to be cooked. Then he would start the stove. Then he would start cooking. By then, the customers would kind of queue up in front of his truck. So how he would do is he would take the money, make the burger, wrap the burger, give it to the customer, and give the change. That was with one customer. With the next customer, he would take the money, make the burger, which essentially means cook the burger, wrap the burger, and give it to the customer with the change. The third customer, and it was the same thing again. He would take the money, make the burger, which means cook the burger, wrap the burger, and give it to the customer with the change. Now, this was the process that he was doing with every customer, customer after customer, customer after customer, customer after customer. He was doing this process. So obviously there was this long queue in front of his burger truck. But eventually some people would get bored. They were completely bored standing in that queue and that long wait, and they were not interested, and they would just walk away from there. What the owner realized was that he was losing on a lot of customers. He was losing a lot of customers because of this reason. And he didn't know what to do. So he kept thinking about it. He kept thinking about it. And one day he came up with this idea. So the next day, when he went to the same crossroad to put up his burger truck, and when he dismantled and opened all the cabinets, he put up a box there. And that box had a tag written there, make your own change. And he put in some money in the box. So now what the customers were expected to do was they were expected to walk up to the box, make the payment. If they needed a change, they could pick up the change and go and place an order with this gentleman. And customers started doing that because that is what they were expected to do. So they would go to the box, pick up the change, go back to the gentleman, place the order and take the order and move away. What happened as a result was that things started moving faster because he was no longer handling the money. People were handling the money on their own. He was not handling the money. He was handling only the operations bit, which is handing over the burgers. So burgers started moving fast, the queue started moving fast, and the customers that were now diverting away came back to him because obviously his burgers were in demand. And as a result of which his business flourished. So to think of it, it's a small step of putting an open cash box there and telling people, hey, please make your own change, please pay, please make your own change and get the burgers from me. But underlying, there's a very important thing here. And that important thing is trust. It is risky to leave your cash box open. Anybody could have picked up the entire cash box and ran away. Anybody could have stolen money from the cash box. Anybody could have taken away some extra money in addition to the change that was needed. Anybody could have done anything. But the one principle on which this entire system operated was trust. And where did it start? It started with the gentleman, which is the owner of the burger truck, trusting his own customers. So the most important thing in today's communication is trust. What we have to do today is trust. So, when Napoleon Hill said that we are same, all of us at the same starting line, we just have to reach our customers. What remains important at that point in time is establishing trust with the customer. And today, the only way to establish trust with the customer is through the virtual communication that we are doing. So right now, what we are doing is virtual communication. And that is the reason we are talking of building trust through virtual communication. If you do not have trust, or rather if your customer does not trust you to deliver, or if you cannot convince your customer over the virtual communication, the deal is not yours. So what we are now going to do is we're going to take a step-by-step look into how does the process work? How is trust to be built? What are the important things that we need to build trust? We are going to be talking about this in detail. Okay, so let's get started. Building trust is a three-step process. There's a mindset, there's a skill set, and there's a tool set. I repeat that: mindset, skill set, and tool set. There are 3 steps in building trust. So let's begin with the first one. The first is the mindset. And the most important thing in the mindset is to listen. Now, I know you've heard a lot about communication and you've heard a lot about listening, and there are these ample videos and reading texts and infographics on how important listening is. And you've been to communication classes that told you, hey, you know what, you should listen. So yes, you have to listen. That is there. But in the virtual communication space, listening gets a little more difficult. Do you know why? Listening gets difficult because, one, there can be unexplained and erratic technological issues. Like, for example, I'm speaking to you right now, and suddenly the network may snap off, or the network may get unstable, or the network may get low, which essentially means that my voice that is traveling to you may start traveling at varied speeds. Sometimes it may be very long, sometimes it may just vanish, sometimes it could be normal, and then you got to make sense out of all this. So that is one technological glitch that makes listening difficult. The second technological glitch that makes listening difficult is the fact that we are all multitasking. So for all those of you who can see the participant screen right now, just go there and check. All that you see is black boxes with names and left hand side red corners. Right? Why is that? Because all of us choose to keep our videos off. Now, the moment we keep our videos off, we aren't seeing the person. And if we aren't seeing the person, we are multitasking on something else. And when we are multitasking on something else, concentration is difficult. So when concentration is difficult, listening does not happen. What happens is hearing. So if, okay, now, let me just take you to the pre-pandemic days where you went and met your customer. What did you do? You actually sat in front of him, right? And when you sat in front of him, it was very easy for the opposite person to make out whether you were listening or not, because your attentiveness was conveyed through your facial expressions, through your body movement and everything. But now that doesn't happen. So like, for example, if your camera is off, the speaker doesn't know whether you are engaged or not. So that becomes a glitch. And that is the reason listening is a very big glitch in today's world, in the virtual communication world. So the first very important thing about mindset is to have an open mind and listen with a lot of patience and listen with a lot of ease. And if you don't understand something that the speaker says, please go and ask the speaker before you respond or react. And it's perfectly okay to ask. You can ask the speaker to repeat, you can ask the speaker to reframe it, you can tell the speaker up front, hey, you know what, I didn't understand what you say. Everything is perfectly okay, but please take the effort and listen. So we conduct a lot of sessions. Before the pandemic, we used to do a lot of public speaking training, and in the pandemic, we're doing a lot of virtual communication training. So when we do virtual communication training, every time a participant receives the feedback, in the first 1/3 of the session, listening is always a point that is pointed out to the participants, saying, hey, you know what, you got to improve this. Work on your listening skills in virtual communication. It rewards you beautifully. Okay, so time now to move on to the next point in the mindset, and that is anxiety. The worst thing about anxiety, it kills spontaneity. When we are anxious, we are always thinking of what is going to happen next. We are always thinking, will I be able to do this? Will this work that way? Will this happen or not? And we are never in the present moment. Anxiety is always about something in the future. And let me tell you, it's been my experience whenever we've been training in person, whenever we've been training online, all the speakers most of them have one single issue that needs redressal, and that is anxiety. People have their hands cold, they have butterflies in their stomach, their head starts paining, they have this foggy brain, they don't understand what to do. It's all anxiety, and the anxiety is ki ab kya hoga. That's the anxiety ki ab kya hoga. But trust me, you don't have to worry. You just have to calm down, and you just have to be in the present moment. It's as simple as that. Just be in the present moment. So, whether you're in virtual communication, whether you are in real communication, whenever you're doing a one-to-many talk, whenever the talk is one-to-many, you have to understand that everybody will listen to you, but you don't have to get anxious about it. And trust me, it's okay to make mistakes. A lot of my participants, especially in the virtual communication, who come up and say, but what if I make a mistake? It's okay. It's fine. You can make a mistake. Even I make mistakes. So it's okay. We are human and we will make mistakes. To err is human. So don't worry. It's okay. If you make a mistake, all that you do is you apologize and move on. Apologize. I'm sorry. Take the corrective steps. See, I made a mistake. So apologize, take the corrective action and move on. And that's okay. We are all human. But will people think low of me? No, they don't. Nobody thinks low of you if you make a mistake. Just make anxiety a friend. Stay in the present moment. Be absolutely calm. If you make a mistake, apologize and go back. Now, one of the worst things that anxiety does is to kill spontaneity. What is spontaneity? Spontaneity is the ability to give an immediate answer. Spontaneity is the ability to have a little bit of humor and a little bit of wit in what you say. And if you're anxious, if your hands are cold and you've got butterflies in your stomach and your head is reeling and your brain is fogged, your spontaneity is killed. And while you are, so if you get on with us to practice, we actually take you through how you should be being very spontaneous in your communication. And a good number of times what I tell my participants is, if you reach this point where somebody asks you a question and you don't know what to say, tell them very calmly and very quietly, I will get back to you. Make a note of their coordinates. It could be their phone number, WhatsApp number, email ID, whatever it be. Write down the question and ensure that you get back. That is the sign of a true professional. So you may not have all the answers. And if you're in the stage where spontaneity is kind of eating you up, don't worry, take it easy. Now, the two things, listening and anxiety, how do they build trust? And what is the relationship of listening and anxiety to trust? Is there any relationship at all? What do you think? Is there a relationship between listening and anxiety to trust? Could you put either a yes or a no in the chat box? I'd love to see that. Kevin says yes. Okay. Sam says yes. Atrat says yes. Yogesh says yes. Okay, so if you think that yes, there is a relationship between anxiety and listening to trust, what is the relationship? Would you like to elaborate that in the text box? What is the relationship between anxiety and trust? I'm sorry, anxiety and listening to trust. I'm waiting. Natrat says mindset. Yes, that is the mindset. Yogesh says fear. Awesome, Yogesh. Yes. Sam says when you're anxious, you don't listen to others, but listen to yourself. Yes, very true. Yes. So what happens is, Simon says confidence. Yes, Simon. Anxiety and listening. If you don't really handle these kind of things, your confidence level plummets. Just as the way Simon said, it just plummets. And when that happens, you may have the best product in the planet. You may be the best person to convey that product or that service. But if you don't have that confidence, your customer doesn't want to work with you. So if your anxiety levels are under control, and if you're listening well, and you're able to respond to customer queries, you're able to respond to prospect queries, you have gotten your customer with you. Now let's put this very same anxiety and listening to our employed friends. You know, what if your boss is saying something and you're very anxious and you aren't listening? The boss understands sitting at the other end that neither are you listening, and you are very anxious. And the boss thinks like, why aren't you listening? Why aren't you saying, in sync with what I'm doing? Where is your harmony of the goals? People start asking all these kind of questions, but the net result being they see you as somebody who's not in harmony with the team goals, and that doesn't work in your favor. So if you want to build trust, please up your listening skills, which means cut down on all the multitasking, be with the person, and calm down your anxiety. When I say calm down your anxiety, means be in the present moment, absolutely in the present moment, and don't worry about anything else. So that, my dear friends, was the mindset. 1 second. My PPT seems to have been stuck. Please give me a minute. Okay, I got there. So the first thing that we did was the mindset. We are now moving on to the second thing, which is the skill set. Now, in skill set, the most important thing to do is position your camera to include hand movements. Now, I'm going to show you certain things just to give you a clarity as to how the positioning of the camera changes. Okay, so bear with me. You can see me at a particular camera right now. Yeah, I can also... Once again, please. Yeah, okay, I got that. I can also place it here. Can you see? Can you see? If I place it here, where will my hands be? Here. Okay. At the same time, I can also place it lower than where it is placed. So the most important thing for you to do is to be able to place your camera where your hands can be seen. Your hands have to be seen. And if your hands are seen, which means people can read you. Now, in virtual communication, we cannot talk through our entire body, which means body language is not happening. So your hands have to be seen. So please position your camera in a way that your hands are seen. I have been in a lot of virtual communication talks, and I train a lot of people in virtual communication, and I want to point out one particular incident to you about the camera bit. So I had this participant of mine, and her camera was always positioned in a manner that you could see only so much part of her face, just this much, so which means you could see the top to the only till the chin, and you could see nothing. So it was a rectangular image like this, and every time she would talk, she would be talking through that small rectangular image, point one. And every time she would turn her head like this or like this or like this or like this, right? And it would be like a blank thing coming onto you. So the first feedback that she received from the group was to enlarge the frame of the camera so that include a little more of her body. And what came out very surprisingly, so we have this point wherein we give feedback to everybody on improvement. And what came out very surprisingly was, she said, you know what, in my house, I don't really have that much of space where I can, manage to have a camera at a distance. Well, now, that is one thing I certainly agree to, because, we stay in Mumbai, and in Mumbai, houses aren't so large that you could possibly get that much of field of depth to be able to have your camera away from you so that your hands are seen. And I'm sure some of us do face this problem. And in Mumbai, we all face the problem of having small houses. But nevertheless, having said that, there's something that comes to your aid. And the thing that comes to your aid at this point in time, wherein your hands aren't seen on the camera, is the tripod. So please go invest in a tripod. There are various kinds of tripod. Just go to any website and you will find these amazing kinds of tripod. Pick up the one that suits your budget. Pick up the one that suits your need and just pick it up. A tripod can help you do that. It can help you enlarge your frame to include your hands. The second thing about skill set is please use your hands to speak. Now, if you've been watching me, I've been doing a lot of movement with hands. Why do we need our hands to speak? When we met in the pre-lockdown days, when we spoke to people, we could read not just their words, We could read their silences. We could read their facial expressions. We could read their body language. We could do everything. But in virtual communication, sometimes or until India reaches 5G, this could be a problem. It could be purely because of network, it could be because of lapses, it could be because of so many technical reasons other than the speaker themselves. And that is the reason use your hands to speak. When you convey with your hands, when you use your hands to say what is in your heart, you are being open. You have no secrets. And don't we all like to work with people who are absolutely truthful and absolutely trustworthy? Yes, we do. And that's exactly what open hands do. That's exactly what open hands tell people. Use your hands. So like, the way my camera is positioned right now, the most comfortable sitting position for me is this. I'm speaking. Now, even when I'm moving, can you see me right now? Even when I'm moving my hands.
Yeah, Mansi, are you using a tripod right now?
No.
Okay.
I wish I could show it to you. I've got a jugaad done right now. And the jugaad is I've got a stack of books. And I've put my, my laptop on the stack of books.
Okay. Okay.
So you know how Indians are, right? We can work on the jugaad. So coming back to the hands, my frame is such that it doesn't really cover my hands, and I'm putting my hands down. And even when I'm moving my hands, you can't see it on the camera. But then if you want to convey a point, it's important to take the effort. So if you see, I pull up my hands and I get them here near my face so you can see my hands. So that's the effort that we have to take when we are talking to any of our stakeholders. The stakeholder can be a boss. The stakeholder can be a super boss. The stakeholder can be a customer. The stakeholder can be a customer's referral. The stakeholder can be a prospect. The stakeholder can be an investor. It could be anybody. But whenever that happens, if you are the one who's speaking, please take the effort of using your hands to speak. It conveys an absolutely different meaning. More than that, it tells people that you are involved with them. Rahul, I just remembered something now that you're talking about the tripod. If you see my Insta lives, all of them are shot on a tripod.
Okay. Okay. I've seen that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so they are on a tripod. But trust me, the variety of tripods is big, and you get right from 6 inches to 6 feet, and you can just select whatever you want to. Okay, so let's move now. And now is the most important thing, The most important thing when you're talking to people is eye contact. Now, I'm sure you heard this in the pre-pandemic days that, look at the people, because nobody likes to communicate with them, with you if you're not looking at them. And how do you make an eye contact in virtual communication? Very, very important. In a virtual communication, when you have a conference or you have a discussion that's happening virtually, you don't look on the screen at people. You look in the lens of the camera. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Please unmute yourself and answer me in yes or no. Do you see me making an eye contact with you right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, do you think I'm making an eye contact with you right now?
No.
No.
What is the difference? What is the difference? When I'm looking this way, I'm looking in the lens of my laptop. But when I'm looking down, I'm looking at the screen and seeing who all are there. If you want to make an eye contact, you have to look in the lens. Or if you have a phone, I mean, if you're doing the virtual meeting through a phone,
look in the camera.
Look at the camera lens. Now, the problem with looking at a camera lens is it is very, very boring, and it is very, very daunting because the camera lens doesn't react. When you look at the boxes and you see people, at least they react, they say something, there's some reaction.
It's really tough what you are saying, yes, to do practically.
Yes, it is tough. I know it is
and
tough.
You have been doing that for such a long time.
Yeah, that's what I train people on, no?
Yes, yes.
So the important thing is that please look in the lens, and here you have to be just like the newsreader that you see on the news. In the good old days, we had the TV, remember? Yeah, so on the TV, we had this newsreader, and she would just read the news. And that's exactly what you have to do now. Don't worry about how people are reacting. Like the way I took a break some time back to say, I want to read the messages. You can do that if the need be, but look at the lens. If you get on to any of our practice sessions, we will put you to this grilling practice. And initially first 2-3 sessions, everybody, each of my participants tells me, Mansi, this is so tough. I can't do it. And it's drab and there are no emotions and I don't like it. I think the lens is rude. And nobody likes it for the first 2 or 3 sessions. But believe me, as you go through each and every practice session, by the time you've come to the 5th and the 6th practice session, you're kind of okay with it. The lens is not going to react to you and you are very comfortable with the lens. So please remember this tip that when you are being on virtual communication, you have to look at the camera lens and not at the people around you. Okay, time for us to move on to the next step. So what we did right now in building trust was the mindset and the skill set. And now we will move on to the tool set. The first important thing in the tool set is the lighting, the light that falls on your face. So for those of you who aren't 10 members, let me share a small secret about 10 with you. 10 didn't get me to talk to you so simply. They made it kind of tough for me. They said, Mansi, we will check the lighting on your face. And only if your face is well lit, will we allow you to talk. And then they made a tick that, yes, your face is well lit. Why do you think they did that? They did that because they wanted you to go home with loads of information. Now imagine if the face isn't lit. Can you see the person? Can you see the person? You can't. And if you can't see the person clearly, how are you going to trust him clearly? You won't trust him clearly. So the most important thing to do is to have a lot of lighting on your face, because when you have a light falling on your face is clearly visible. And when your face is clearly visible, you are more trustworthy. Now, in the market for the moment, there are many, many options on lights. You have those camera lights and you have those indirect lighting. You get that ring, in the center of which you can place your mobile. So that ring kind of puts its light on you. You can choose a lighting that works for you. Personally, for me, that ring light where you put your camera right in the center, that doesn't work for me because that light kind of pelts my eyes. So I don't like that. Do you know what works for me? I'll give you a small trick. What works for me is the table lamp, the good old-fashioned table lamp. And you won't believe it, since the pandemic has started, I've actually ordered 5, because right now it's the day, so we don't have too much of a problem. It's the daylight coming on my face. But when it is the evening time, or when it is dark, when we are holding like late night sessions, I actually have around me 5 lights that are kind of throwing the light, because I'm okay with the table lamp light. I'm not okay with the circle light. You could do with diffused lighting. You could do with any kind of lighting. That's your choice. Whatever you do, please have your face lighted. There should be light coming on your face. Now, the next thing after this is the camera height. Now, can you see me? And can you see me at a certain height? Yeah. You just saw that some time back, I lifted my laptop, wherein you could see a lot of empty space on top, and you could see my face only till this point. And there are some smarter people. They listen on their phones, and their phones are below their faces. Some of them wear specs, and when they're doing a virtual call, they don't want to wear specs. So the phone is away, but lower. Okay, so like the gentleman, do you see the bald gentleman in the picture here, who's kind of stooping over the camera? That is one thing. Do you know what is still worse when it comes? There are people who hold their cameras, or rather their phones, right below them. So do you know what you see? You don't see their faces. What you see is 2 dark holes. That is what you see. I'm talking about your nostrils. So when your camera is placed low, all that you see is 2 nostrils. And trust me, it's a very eek sight. You don't want to see that. And if that is the case, nobody is going to trust you ever. And if you want to build trust, it's your face that has to be visible. Anytime in personal communication, do you actually sit above the person you're talking to, or do you sit below the person you're talking to? No, we sit eye to eye with the person we are talking to. And that is the reason your camera height has to be eye to eye. One of the best things that you can do is sign in 15 minutes earlier to your virtual talk. And if you're using a virtual background, the camera height matters another big time. So I'll tell you a real life experience that happened with me around 2 months back. I was doing a talk and we had a virtual background, I had a virtual background that I was using. And the virtual background was white. And that was the first time I was doing a virtual background. Wasn't used to it. And I wore a white jacket. Now, when I came and sat on my chair, the white jacket and the virtual background merged, and all that people could see was my face. And it was shocking because I didn't know that this could happen. So I went and changed and wore a black jacket, and then everything was okay. But I had enough time to do that experiment because I logged in 15 minutes early. So there was enough time to kind of make out how the virtual background is working and how am I looking and am I able to convey the message that I want to. If you log in late, this is not possible. So my dear friends, keep your camera height, keep your laptop or your phone set up at a certain height, log in a little earlier, at least 10-15 minutes early, so you can kind of check your camera height. And now let's move on to the next thing, slide data. So you remember I told you in the start that when we said that 90% of the salespeople lose a sales because they don't know how to present data on the slide. So first important thing is your slide should not be cluttered. I'll tell you a real life story that has happened with me. I had this gentleman in one of my earlier communication trainings. I had a gentleman who was an entrepreneur for almost 33 years. He's been an entrepreneur. So he's worked for more than 3 decades. So, and he has a very technical product. So he would put up a lot of data on the slide, and the font was like 9 and 10, and it was very difficult for people to read. So when we started, so how we work, I'll just take you a little into how we work. How we work is, when you join a communication training group, there's a group that gives you feedback as to where you need to improve. And everybody told him that, the font size of 9 and 10 is too small, and we have to strain eyes to read what you have written, and there's too much data there. If you can reduce what is written on the slide. So immediately it was kind of difficult for him to grasp that, okay, I have to decrease the amount of things that are written. Then how will I give product information? How will people know what I do? So we actually took him to a process. We said, sir, you can actually have multiple slides. You don't need to have just one slide. You can have multiple slides, and you can have limited data on every side. So he started doing that. He increased his font size to 12, and then he started putting a picture. But on every slide, then he would have not more than 2 points. And as the weeks progressed, the feedback actually came to him saying that, sir, now your slides are beautifully visible. It's the same that goes for all of us. Whenever you're developing a slide, please ensure that there is minimal data on the slide. The second important thing is have some kind of a consistency. So the consistency can be with font, the consistency can be with background, the consistency can be with pictures, it can be with your logo, anything. You can have a consistency with anything, but you need a consistency across your slides. Across the slides, there has to be consistency, and then you have to break monotony. Because if your slides are predictable, people get bored. So one of the best things to do is to break monotony. So you can add a little pictures, you can add a little color. So your consistency is woven into the non-monotony. That is what you have to do. The consistency presentation of the slides is woven into the non-monotony. Now, when you do that, there should be some surprise element in every slide, but at the same time, it's not too predictable. Now, coming to simple fonts. Please use very simple fonts on a slide. So what is a simple font? A simple font is a font in which no two alphabets collide. Two alphabets are separate. Their boundaries are separate. So if you look at my slide right now, please look at the third point which says use simple fonts. The U is separate than S and the S is separate than E. Are they sticking? Are they merging onto each other? No. This is called a simple font. Don't go in for flashy fonts. Don't go in for fonts that you have to kind of look and pay attention, and understand what is written out there. You have to kind of rack your brains into it. Don't go in for any of those fonts. But now I have the big question. Does the presentation of slide help in building trust? What do you think? A yes or a no? Does the presentation of the slide help in building trust? Let me just have a look at the chat box. Okay, Sam, we have a question from you. How do we get habituated to these things, especially looking at the body language and looking at the camera? How important is PPT against your facial communication, virtual communication? Because when the PPT is on, the face is not seen. Okay, yeah, please give me some time. I will come back to this. Okay, so coming back. Okay, so we have Sam and Natraj and Sanjeev saying that yes, the slide data is important for building trust. Well, that's very true. The slide data is important for building trust. And let me tell you how. By our very nature, human beings like to work with human beings who can make their life easy and comfortable. So think about yourself. Don't you like to work with people who make your life easy and comfortable? Think of every person in life that you're working with, and you will be working with people who make your life easy and comfortable. So your bosses, your customers, your prospects would also like to work with you when you make their life easy and comfortable. Now, if your slide is a slide that is difficult to read, if your slide is a slide that is difficult to maneuver, if your slide is a slide that has complicated fonts, you complicate them because you put a lot of pressure on their brains and they are not interested. And that is where trust takes longer. But if you have a slide that's easy to maneuver, if you have a slide that's easy to read, if your font is easily grasping, trust is faster. So how you present your slide has a lot to do with trust building. So that was the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set of building trust on virtual communication. Now, what happens if you do all this that Mansi just said? There must be some result, right? Every activity that you do should lead to some result. So what is the result here? There are a few things that happen when you take these actions to build trust over virtual communication. And these are, the first thing is you have a faster market adaptability. So, those customers whom that big competitor of yours is not able to reach today because that person is not agile, you can reach today. You have adapted yourself to the market, and most of your customers already understand your technical competence. Most of the customers already know that you are the person who knows his work. When you adapt yourself, bang on, you get that order then and there. So faster market adaptability. What is the next thing that happens? The next thing is high velocity of closures. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Right? Of course, if you're agile, if you can reach your customer before anybody else can, obviously you have faster closures. Now you reach your you reach your customer before your competition reaches them. And whoever reaches first has a higher chance of having the business with them. So when you have built trust, your customer has you in his mind and you can close your orders faster, easier, and smoother. This collaboration, this co-creation, and this strategic alliance. So I'm sure that in every industry, there are changes that are happening right now. And one of the big changes that is happening right now is mergers, is co-creation, is collaboration. People are looking out for the right partners who have the right skill set, most importantly, the right attitude to collaborate. Everybody, look at your own industry and you will hear of stories of people collaborating, one company taking over the other, or two small firms merging, or two large companies merging, or one small or one merging. The umpteen number of examples, and that is the result of building trust, because the person who's tying up with you trusts that you have the technical competence to deliver what you promise. And beyond all this, the one thing that happens is you have a higher credibility. All things said and done, if your credibility suffers, you never get the business. So the one thing that happens here, when you take these steps, these 9 techniques, when you apply them to winning trust, one of the things that happens, which is like really big for you at a personal level, is your credibility. So that is the result of applying these 9 techniques to building trust. I'm going to show you a picture now, and please put for me in the chat box, what is that picture about? What do you think is that picture about? Professor Swapan Grain, does the contribution to social cause help you in build trust in the mind of your clients, partners, and community? Does it aid in your business development and profit growth directly or indirectly? How do you view it? Sir, please give me some time. I will just be with you in a few minutes. Okay, Sanjeev says a flock of birds going home together. Yes, Sanjeev. Sam says geese. Yes. So the picture that you see on your screen right now is a flock of geese that are flying. Now, I'm sure that all of us know that geese are migratory birds and they flow from one country to another, in the process traversing a lot of continents. You know, they fly across continents. And there's a very special reason that this picture has been put here. If you look at geese, the geese always fly in a V shape. They always fly in a V shape. So when the geese fly in a V shape, they have a leader who's right in the front. So there's a leader who's right here. The leader leads the entire flock of geese together. And when the leader gets tired, the leader moves behind and somebody else takes up the leadership position. And they all keep moving forward. If by any chance a geese falls sick or meets with an accident or something untoward happens, then that geese waits at a particular place and another 2-3 birds wait with that geese. But the rest of the flock continues the journey in the V shape. Why is the V shape? Because the V shape gives each one of them the energy to synergize with each other and to move forward. That is how they move forward, because of their V shape. Now, whatever you have learned today, the 9 techniques that you have learned today, please go out and share them with whomever you come in contact with. Because when you share this information, we will synergize together and we will move up and we will all grow together. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. My coordinates are mentioned at the bottom of the slide. And if you ever need help with anything in virtual communication, please feel free. You can either WhatsApp me or you can email me and I will get back to you. Thank you so much for your time. It was so wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi. I'll just request you to close your PPT, then we will take a question from chat box.
Sure, definitely. Is that good? Can you see the PPT closed?
Yeah. So Mansi, there is a question from Mr. Sam. You have already read that question. It is pertaining to how important it is to have a PPT against your facial communication. When PPT mode is on, people are not able to see your face.
Just give me a minute here. I'll just read that question once again. Okay, so the question was, how do we get habituated to these things, especially body language and looking at camera? How important is PPT against your facial communication in virtual communication? Because when PPT is on, the face is not seen. Okay, so I'll just answer this in steps. Let's begin with the first part, that how do you get habituated to these things? It's a matter of practice. You have to practice, get your feedback, practice feedback, practice feedback. It's a loop. So, when we work with our participants, there's a complete loop of practice and feedback. And every week there's somebody who's giving you feedback on your practice. You consciously improve. So Sam, please don't worry. If you have this loop of practice, feedback, practice, feedback, practice, feedback, you'll definitely improve. Now, coming to the second part, how important is your PPT against your facial communication in the VC? Okay, the important thing is that whether you like it or not, people still like to communicate face to face. People like to connect to a face. Nobody likes to connect to a PPT. So your facial communication still remains important even if you have a PPT. I hope I've answered that for you, Sam.
Mansi, sorry to interrupt. We can't see you. Your video is off.
No, my video is on.
Okay, then I think it's only from me.
I can see her, Rahul. So I think.
Okay. I think it's a problem with me then. I'll check. No problem.
Sure. There was one more question, in the chat box. Just give me a minute, please. Okay.
Question.
Yeah, it is from Professor Swapan.
Yes.
And he says, does contribution to social causes help you build trust in the mind of your clients, partners, and community? Does it aid in your business development and profit growth directly or indirectly? How do you view it? Okay, so first thing, if you are doing a social, like I do a lot of social contribution, therefore I can tell you from personal experience that if you're doing from a social contribution, if you're doing a social contribution from the fact that it should help you increase your business, I'm not too sure how much is it going to help. But if you do a social contribution because you feel that you can help somebody, not because the person is lower to you, but because you have the capacity to give, it elevates. It elevates you, it elevates the other person. And does it help build trust in the mind of your clients, your partners, and your community? Let me answer that with respect to the community first. Yes, it most certainly gets the community to trust you. Does it get your partners and your clients to trust you? They still take you with a pinch of salt. Why? Because social contributions do not guarantee competence. And what partners and clients want is technical competence. So you may be doing a lot of social causes, which is very good. You can elevate others in yourself. That just goes to say what a wonderful character you have. But if you still want good business deals with your partners and your clients, you still need to prove your technical competence. And I hope I've answered that for you, sir.
See, Mr. Bala here has requested, can you just summarize these 9 techniques in bullet points?
Okay, I can't see the question. Okay, so the most important thing that we have to do is the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set. So I'll just take you through all of it once again. When we're talking of the mindset, please understand we're talking about listening to what people are saying. And then we are talking about managing anxiety, which essentially means being in the present moment. Then we are talking of the skill set, wherein we are talking of the position of the camera. We are talking about the hand gestures that we are making while we are communicating. And we are talking of the way the slide is presented. When we are talking of the tool set, at that point in time, we're talking about the light that is falling on our face. We are talking of the height of the laptop, and we are talking about how the voice modulation should move. So these are the 9 points, and I hope I've summed that for you, Bala sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mansi. Next question is from Mr. Nataraj Iyer. Shall I read it for you?
Is that the one? How can we build the body language that we want to come? I'll just read this. It says, how can we build the body language that we want to convey in the PPT when it comes to virtual communication? Okay, so body language comes through practice. So to be very honest, there are 2 important things for body language. First is to feel your PPT. If you feel your PPT, it automatically comes. Okay, now you will realize that there are a lot of senior people. When I say senior, mostly people above 40 who don't like to talk with a lot of their hands. When we met in the non-virtual world, we wouldn't talk with a lot of our hands. But when it comes to the virtual world, yes, we do have to use our hands, and a lot of that comes only through practice, feedback, that loop. There's a practice and there's a feedback, there's a practice, there's a feedback. That's the best way of doing it. I hope I answered that for you, Natrat sir.
Rahul, with your kind permission, can we have questions directly from the participant? They can unmute themselves and ask question.
Okay, so there's another question, and it says, is VC a boon against a one-to-one meeting? So, Sam, honestly, a one-to-one meeting in blood and flesh is one of the best things to happen. But in the current pandemic times, the virtual meeting is the best thing to happen. Because if you do not meet virtually, if you're not able to communicate your ideas virtually, if you're not able to make product demos virtually, if you're not able to make service demos virtually, you will not have the clients coming back to you. So yes, in the current times, the virtual meeting is a boon. And I hope I've answered that for you.
Yeah, I'll request participate. If you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask directly to Mansi. Rahul, I don't see any question coming from the participant. You can continue with the next part of the meeting.
Yeah, I think next part is now, I would, hello. Yeah, thanks, Mansi. It was such an amazing session. I've known you for more than now 5 to 7 years. And I'm so delighted to see you grow phenomenally with every passing year. You have a unique style of your own to communicate, and trust me, it's very effective. It's so candid, it's so simple. Thanks once again, and I would kindly request Kevin, our 10 member, Kevin Shah, to please present the vote of thanks to Mansi.
Thanks very much, Rahul. It is indeed a pleasure to be giving a vote of thanks to Mansi. Mansi, you are in the business of building trust through communication. And in that, you are a walking, talking brochure. You are doing a wonderful job. I enjoyed every moment of it. And trust, as they say, is the most basic, most fundamental, and yet so difficult to do it, especially with the distance coming in through this virtual world. And in that, you showed us ways on how to communicate. And they say that the problem with communication is the illusion that it has happened. That's what Sir George Bernard Shaw had said, that the problem with communication is the illusion that it has happened, because just because we have poured out something, it doesn't mean the other parties have absorbed it. And so the larger question is then what has happened? And what has happened is the reaction that you get. And more often than not, the reaction we get is not the one that we were looking for. And how to mitigate through that, you've shown us wonderful. You've shown us in your own inimitable style. There's a lot of fun in it. You've showed us ways for improvisation. You've shown us how to have the aesthetics in it. And this has been a brilliant training. I go back learning a lot from you. I'm sure the team, as well as all the other members and non-members who have joined, have felt the same. And once again, on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank you for such a brilliant Saturday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. It was so spontaneous.
Thank you so much for the compliment.
Acha, Nancy, there was one question for you, then you said ask. So can we answer that?
Yeah, sure. What is the question? Is it in the chat box?
I think, yeah.
No, I think so. Name is mentioned as winning persona. I will just.
Yeah, please unmute.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, Mansi. Good afternoon. This is Sunil here.
Hi, Sunil.
Great. Thanks for the link at last. I think I called up on that number. Anyway, I'm a motivational speaker, and last 10 to 15 years In India, I have done that. But in this virtual world now, how do you motivate a youth?
Are you asking me? How do I motivate? I'm sure you can do it.
And that's exactly what I said earlier. I have done it. I have done it long period of time. But my core area, my forte is motivating the young generation, especially college going in people. Again, you must be knowing I specialize GDPI and all those areas. And I've seen the youth is, sulked and shattered. And I want to bring them up. I tell them, hell with COVID, it's just part of life. Live with it. And any other way I can do it. I have used the best PPTs. I have got the best professional examples. I bring it on board, but it just doesn't, go. And then I drill and tattoo into their brains. It is just one phase of life which we are going through. Any other tricks and techniques and lovely ideas you have, you can share. Go right ahead. I'm so sorry to ask you this at the last moment.
No, that's perfectly okay. I think you're already doing a very fantastic job. One of the things that you can do is start having online forums with them. No? The youth is all online 24/7. So just start having forums. Forums means don't have any PPTs or anything, and just let them talk and let them give the input, rather than you giving the input. So suppose a question which is like a problem that you think, and let them give you the gyan and let them tell you, hey, you know what, this is what you should be doing. And that's it. You would have cracked it by then.
Actually, Mansi, I have right from April to now. In fact, tonight I have 2 of those. And people from Kerala, Mangalore, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Gujarat, I've been touching many lives, and I've been telling them that, one is generate a hobby, and there are several other things which I share. And my wife, Dr. Sneha, I know she does the same thing with her students. Anything I can use on the virtual platform.
So you can use everything on the virtual platform, right from movies to PPTs to short anecdotes to you acting yourself on the virtual platform. There's a lot that you can do. Just feel free and just do it. The youth today is one of the most matured youth, I would say, very open. Just go ahead. I mean, just do anything. And you don't really have to even get on a platform like a Zoom or a Google Meet. For them, even something like a WhatsApp call is good enough,
Great.
All the very best to you.
Thanks, Mansi. Thanks. Good to hear you after a long time. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Mangesh, should we conclude or do the concluding remarks?
Yes, Rahul.
Request all the participants to kindly connect with us if they want to become the member of 10. And my sincere gratitude to all the participants who gave their time to attend this session. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye, Mansi. Hello. Bye.